your mother actually shot at your father at one point.
Yeah, yeah. My dad uh, came home and was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. My mother had enough of it, and he was trying to climb out the window. And his boot back in the day used to wear these boots and it had the big heels on the back. And he was like, "Hey," and it got clipped or hooked on the window. And he was like trying to whisper because my mom was trying to get in this side of the bedroom door. And that was after though, Vlad, because he went to take a shower, and I think my mom just went to scare him, and she shot 3 times through the bathroom door, and he was in the shower, and she knew he was in the shower. She's just trying, but he tried to jump out the window while she was going to go get a knife or whatever. And I remember being about 8 years old, and and he's like, "Jay, get the boot loose, get the boot." And I'm like a little kid. I thought I was helping my dad, and I clicked the boot loose, and I heard bing. And I, and I get up on the stool on the dresser and look down, and he hit his head on the bird bath, right? So my mother ended up catching him anyway. But yeah, it was quite the household, a loving household,
Yeah.
Vlad. My parents were loving, they just went
Okay.
through some stuff.
There was a situation that you talked about in one of your books where you made a guy put his teeth on the curb.
Yeah, that was not a that was more BS than it was anything. We got into something and the guy fell down and hit his head on the curb. We had a fight. It wasn't me telling him to put his face on the curb. That was incorrect. There was a lot
Okay.
of stuff. When you wrote a lot of stuff back then, Vlad, a lot of stuff was for low self-esteem reasons. You just let stuff go. A lot of stuff when you were writing stuff, you weren't in the right state of mind. You were rushing stuff. So no, I never did that.
Right, 'cause that sounded pretty crazy. That's like some old.
Yeah. That's how,
Uh,
it's like when people say Jay scored 100 points in high school and the story gets bigger and bigger. I don't think I've ever scored over 25 points in high school. The legend builds,
right, yeah, because I was thinking American History X.
Right,
Remember
right.
when he.
That's probably where that came from.
Yeah. Okay, but then there was a situation with your sisters. Okay,
Yeah.
so
So-
one of your sisters ended up getting robbed.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I came home, I was probably about 13 or 14 years old. Came down the hallway at Cherry Street, and I saw some blood, and I was like, wow, where's this blood? Somebody must have cut their finger, cut their hand pretty bad. But then the blood led into my sister's apartment. The door was ajar. I went in, and she was laying on the floor. A guy named Sergio had stabbed her 17 times and beat her over the face with a hammer. My sister was a beautiful woman. She modeled for Salem Cigarettes. She went in and got a blood transfusion, and she caught the AIDS virus. And it was not like where you're catching now. There was no medicine. It was pretty much we took the back door at hospitals like Bellevue. And when she finally got home, we had to take all the mirrors out of her house because she was deformed in her face because he broke the hammer over her face by hitting her so many times. Now my second sister, Sissy, we call her Sissy, her name is Laura. She started trying to help my sister and soothe her and started doing drugs with my sister, who got hooked on heroin before all the painkillers and stuff they were giving her. And they both started using drugs intravenously, and both my sister caught the AIDS virus. And I lost both my sisters. Then some years later, my third sister, husband was having a bad day, came home, drunk, shot her in the face, and killed her, and then he killed himself. I ended up having to take my two first sisters' children and raise them, or they would have to go to DICEPIS, Children's Services. So I ended up adopting them, and it wasn't easy, but I never thought, now that I think about it, it wasn't easy, but then it was just the right thing to do. I assigned to St. John's University, and I had two kids. I had a 11-year-old and like a 7-year-old, and I had to wake up, Vlad, in the morning, from Jamaica, Queens, and drive my son to Manhattan, and then beat the traffic back, and then wake my daughter up, bring her to school, and then after that, I'd go back to Manhattan, pick my son up, then pick my daughter up, then bring them to practice at St. John's. And then they will watch practice. At that time, we were practicing 4 and 5 hours a day, maybe 6 with Luke Hornacek. He's the reason they put the rule in. And then after that, I would have to help them with their homework, do my homework, feed them, bathe them, and then still try to do what an 18-year-old does, playing for one of the most famous universities in the world. And the only probably accolade that I give myself in my whole life is that my kids only missed 5 days of school, and I got my degree in 4 years.
Well, the back of the book that you wrote, there was a picture of your two sisters, the two that ended up dying from AIDS. Very beautiful girls, right? Just such a, I'm actually tearing up right now, like even talking about it.